Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Human Connection, Success and Etiquette in Social Media, Connecting versus Collecting. This is a reproduction via webinar of a seminar given at the Human Connection Networking event here in Chicago on January 25th. So if you joined me there, thank you for coming back again to review the material. And if you're new to this presentation, welcome, and I hope you learned some great new tips for using social media to create a human connection and building relationships to grow your business. Now first, a brief introduction. My name is Sue Koch. I am the owner of Soaring Solutions LLC. I became an entrepreneur after leaving the corporate world, spent 16 years there in technology, experiencing everything from software development through executive management. I'm also a certified professional coach, a speaker, author, and lifelong learner. I'm enjoying the process of learning all the social media applications, best practices, etc., and bringing those to you to accelerate your learning process. My goal is to reduce overwhelm in social media, help you build your audience, and make it fun in the process. So let's dive into the material. First, why is the human connection important? Well, it certainly allows us to create deeper relationships, and in doing that, grow an incredibly successful business. You've probably heard a lot about the cycle starting with know, like, and trust. People do business with people they know, like, and trust. Now, typically, once that is established, people will try the products and services, maybe do a free trial or a sample, and then buy the products or services, and then through that become a loyal customer, and then start to refer you, your business and services to their circle of influence. Now, often, and we're seeing a lot of this in social media, is that many of those steps are skipped, and often people are finding themselves going from know, like, trust, immediately to refer. And that's how building brand evangelists online can really accelerate your sales cycle. Now, in doing that, however, you do have to create true relationships. So, let's discuss the human connection a little bit first here. Here's something we can all relate to. Think about road rage, something we all have maybe at some level, some maybe more than others. Now, what does that initially get targeted at? Well, that's typically initiated at the object that's in your way, slowing you down, preventing you from getting where you want to go as quickly as you possibly can. Maybe you're late and somebody's slowed you down. Whatever it may be, you're typically seeing this vehicle, this object in your way. Now, if you pull up and you see this nice lady smiling at you, doesn't that really change your perspective? Quite often, we realize that our anger is targeted at this object, this thing in our way. But then once we humanize it and we realize, wow, this woman has her own reasons perhaps for being where she is at this point in time. Maybe she didn't realize she was in my way, what a hurry I'm in, and is just being extra cautious. It changes once you see the human behind the object. Now, what does this have to do with social media? So if you take a look at the picture on the left, this is the representation that many people see social media as. A computer with lots of dollar signs in it, and I'm just going to grow numbers and click-throughs and likes, and this is going to make me all kinds of money. But what if the driving factor behind our social media activity was about the relationships that we're building with the other humans that are on the other side of that computer, instead of just looking at it as a way to build likes, click-throughs, and hopefully dollars based on those numbers? Think about this little guy, woman over here on the right side, really just enjoying participating, who wants to create relationships and connections with people. That's how you're going to create business with other individuals that will help you grow your business. Now, mention the concept of collecting versus connecting. This is where people really see this as a numbers game. The people that are just looking at it as a computer, how many clicks can I get? And that's really collecting the numbers. There are a lot of people making money off of these advertisements. People are paying hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars to build these followers. But what are you really paying for when you do this? What does it get you? A lot of spam. This person is not the person who is really tweeting with you or Facebooking with you. So many of these are pictures snagged off the internet trying to gain the attention of someone who's seeking attention. Most likely, this is spam. So if you're spending hundreds or thousands of dollars just to get numbers, how do you know that this audience is relevant? Now, another problem in social media is the field of dreams delusion. This may be becoming cliche with a lot of social media people who train and speak and train and consult, but it's true. And just because you build a Facebook page or a website or a Twitter account or put a video up on YouTube does not mean people will come. Now, if you're at a networking event and you're all done up and you're looking great, you've got your glossy marketing materials and your business cards, would you just walk in and sit in the corner and say, all right, here I am, come and get me. Come get my brochures, come buy my stuff. It doesn't work that way. When you're live at a networking event, you meet people, you make connections, you get to know them. It's the same thing on social media. Now, another thing that people often do in social media is the robot, the automation. Automation is great. Absolutely. I'm all for it when it comes to certain levels of scheduling and using it in line with best practice. But when you do it in a way that people know all you're doing is automating, this is a turnoff. So as you can see from this account here, I first saw that Chicago Carriage Cab had a Twitter account, and I thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool if I could just send a tweet and get a cab over to the corner when I'm waiting in the cold in Chicago? Well, when I looked at their account and I see the same thing being repeated over and over and over again. So clearly what they've done is every time someone follows them, they have an automated reply saying, hey, person who just followed me, thanks for the follow. Please go to our website for more information. Would you do this at a networking event? Would you go up to every person you encountered, hand your card out and say, hey, like my Facebook page. Hey, buy my product. Hey, read my blog. No, that's not making a human connection. So again, remember, a human being is reading this. Someone is looking at that and seeing that all you've got is a scheduling tool churning out tweets and you're really not paying attention anyway. Sure, is it okay to do some of those auto replies? At some level, again, according to best practice and certain etiquette, but you've got to be out there actively doing something real as well. That is how you create relationships. You want to focus on your relevant audience. I mentioned paying vendors and service providers to get all these numbers. Well, sure, there's something to be said for quantity, but really, if you want to make your time most efficient and productive, wouldn't focusing on quality connections make most sense? And remember that people like people who are like them. So those quality people are going to be people that you resonate with, people that you can educate and add value to their experience on social media. Supporting and reciprocating other people. Boost up other businesses that you do business with. Your local restaurants, your partners in business, vendors that you use. Go out there on social media and become their brand evangelist. And then what quite often happens is that they reciprocate that support. Ask questions. Find out what your audience needs and what will help them succeed in their business. Now, as some of you know who were there for our Human Connection event, some of the prior presentations and the topic really focused on appealing to the senses, how you really connect to another human being based on these senses. Now, sure, that can be kind of difficult in social media sometimes with all the text that's floating around. You don't hear tone. You can't see tone in text. Now, maybe certain fonts can do that on Facebook posts and things, but if you're sending a tweet and just a text post in LinkedIn or Facebook, that's really not getting across all of the senses. So one great way to do that is YouTube. Now, cat videos, the reference there is kind of in jest, but it's true. Cat videos were huge, top of the search, top of the views in 2011. And why? Because it's funny. It appeals to the senses. It gives people a good feeling. But besides that, just using YouTube generally for your business will appeal to different senses. People can see you. They can see your mannerisms, your body language. They can hear your tone and your voice. Maybe tell a little bit more if you're speaking with a sense of humor, which isn't always translatable via text. They'll see colors in the background, what you're wearing, what kind of room you're in, and get an idea for how you operate. These things all help you to connect with another person who's watching from the other side of the computer. These are things that can really trigger a connection and facilitate somebody else realizing much more quickly that they really want to do business with you. Now, times have certainly changed. Don't be this guy. This guy is that sort of representation of the slick car salesman from back in the day. Come on, I've got something for you. This will be a winning purchase. You need this. You need what I have. This doesn't work anymore. These sorts of things translated into social media behavior really turn people off. This sort of behavior online does relate to that person who's automating, blasting URLs out to you. If you use Twitter, you might realize more and more that the DM or the direct message, which is the inbox of Twitter, a private message in Twitter, is just full of these things, spamming you with links. Go to my Facebook page, go to my blog. Did you see this blog about you? Did you see this picture going around online of you? It's bad. Don't click on these things. These are just slick ways of people trying to get you to click on links that have no relevance for you. These are the people trying to simply go from sheer numbers in hopes that by blasting out millions of URLs to people, somebody's going to click through and eventually buy. This is not creating a human connection. Now, enter the relationship era. Things are done differently these days. You may have seen, if you are a fan of Advertising Age, around the time that we decided to come out with this Human Connection networking event and workshop series, the Advertising Age magazine actually featured an article on the human element. So it was really timely and really helpful to review this, and how a great organization like Advertising Age is also a huge proponent of creating relationships. And so I've taken some snapshots from that with the URL at the bottom there if you want to go take a look at the article itself. It's a really great read. I highly recommend it. But it really goes over the old way and the winning way, the current way of really making human connections to do business. So I'm not going to go over each and every single one of these, but just to highlight some points. So for example, we mentioned that slimy car salesman guy in the previous slide. This is that behavior of interrupting and persuading people, trying to get them to get on board with you, interrupting them and not paying attention to their needs and what's really going to help serve their best interest. The new way, engaging people. Get to know them, get to know what they need, understand how your business can serve their needs. Not just because you want to sell them something and make money, but how do you serve their needs in a way that they simply just want to do business with you and then refer you to their friends. Another great one is what the brand does versus why the brand exists. In the past, it was all about, we do this best, we have the best thing, and you need it. Well, now, what really connects to people is digging into the passion behind why you do what you do. Let people know that. Engage them with your story. These are the things that people connect to. I have one client who does hair product, and so many products out there, it's easy to just say, we do the best, we're all natural, these are good for you, all that sort of thing. But what really captures people is her story. She's a wonderful entrepreneur, starting small out of her own home and doing something because she really wanted to change lives. And you might think, shampoo, how is this changing lives? Hair product. Well, she grew up with such curly, frizzy, kinky hair that she was often teased, and it was a very traumatic experience for her. And as she got older, got married and had a child, and her little girl she saw going down the same path. And she didn't want that to happen. And so she decided she was going to change that. And now her passion connects so greatly to other people. She has one of the most active Facebook pages, Twitter accounts, etc., because people love what she stands for. and they really connect to her story. And there's stories of kids and teenagers who otherwise were lacking in such confidence that now feel good about what they look like. That's really powerful for a kid growing up these days. So think about that. Tap into why your brand exists. So as we look at social strategy, initially, everything was really based on going viral. How do we go viral? How do we get more clicks? How do we get out there? And sure, that is definitely something that is a boost to your business success. But also think about why. Give consumers something to talk about. Make it something they are going to love and connect to. Not just trying to go viral, again, by blasting out URLs by sheer numbers and hope that people will simply click through. If you use good content, if you create and distribute good content that connects to people and resonates with your relevant audience, that is how something goes viral. So, in all of these strategies, a very important key is reputation management. This is something a lot of companies don't really think about because they think, well, I'm not really doing anything to stir the pot. I'm not doing anything controversial. But you never really know when someone might take a look at your blog or some posts and disagree with you or be a critic, slam your product on Yelp or Facebook. You just never know when these things are going to pop up. So you always want to be prepared. And so here's a couple of examples. Of course, these are much larger companies, but you just never know what's going to happen. Both of these companies created these hashtags. And if you're not familiar with the hashtag, that is the pound sign you will see in front of a keyword on Twitter. And what that does is it helps people become part of a conversation that they're following. It helps you get in front of an audience that is tracking that conversation. So instead of just using a keyword and searching for it, the hashtag is placed there with the intention of getting others in on that conversation and getting in front of the news feeds of people who are tracking that hashtag. So in this first example, McDonald's created hashtag McD stories. They were having great hopes of getting great stories from their customers to chime in on this hashtag and get some great momentum behind it by kicking off, promoting and sharing some of the great people that work at McDonald's. Well, what happened? People chimed in with some not so pleasant things to say about the business. For example, McDialysis, I'm loving it. Well, there were all kinds of other things that did not reflect so well in the company. It became more about people's struggles and disappointments than about sharing great stories. And Qantas Airlines is the other one that did this. They created a hashtag to help people discuss their dream experience in luxury, and people started complaining about some of the issues they had, being stuck on the runway, stuck in the airplane. And these are not things that reflected well in the company. Now, these are all things that can be turned around. And that's the goal of a reputation management plan in your strategy. What will you do if someone comes back and does something like this, critiques you in a way that makes you look bad with the intention of making you look bad? Well, the worst thing that you can do as a business, and this is a result of both of these, is that they didn't do anything initially. They were just silent. And so the best thing you can do is speak to your audience. Appreciate the complaints because that helps you learn how to do things differently. Let them know that you care and feel bad that they had these disappointments with your business. So these are things that you want to really think about before you just dive in to social media, because you can turn a critic into a brand evangelist and then they can bring all their friends along as well. So the next thing that people think very commonly after going over all the different tools that are out there, different best practices, all the different etiquette tips and whatnot, and how many times to post and all these things, well, gosh, I just don't have time for all of this. And no, not in the initial way that's reflected there to the left. This is what I like to refer to as random acts of marketing. This is just arrows all over the place, shooting aimlessly, hoping to hit some targets. And that's what a lot of people do when they just simply dive right in and get started without a plan. If you start with a strategy, you can zone in on the target, spend less time, create efficiency this way. And you can reallocate, repurpose content, delegate to people who can support you, But it's very critical that if you are, especially using an intern for your social media, that you have a strategy in place so that they know your brand, your voice, your do's and don'ts, your strategic audience, your private audience. All of these things are very critical. And then there's some really great third-party tools that you can use. So spend the next few minutes going over some of these things that will help you to boost your engagement and productivity. A great tip in Twitter is to use lists. A lot of people aren't really familiar with what these are yet. They've been out there for a while, but it's not always very clear. So what you can do is create lists to focus on strategic audiences. Create a list of clients, strategic partners, influencers, perhaps media channels you want to get in front of. You can create lists that are public or private, but this will help you track the people most important to you to make sure that you're mentioning them, retweeting them, and engaging with them. On Facebook, something that is commonly missed, people create a Facebook page, post statuses, and then again wait for people to just show up and like them. Well, you really need to engage proactively. People need to know you're there. So one way you can do that is as your business fan page, like other influential businesses and businesses you might partner with and feature them. You can create featured likes that show up on your front page of your business fan page. First, those businesses will appreciate that you did that. As well, it will remind you to proactively engage with other pages. You really need to go out to other pages, like their posts, comment on their posts, share their posts on your page. These build reciprocation and they build engagement. This is how you let people know you're there and get in front of the audiences of other influential businesses. Now, something else I mentioned earlier about the robot. Be cautious with the multi-post. A lot of these tools, such as TweetDeck, Social Oomph, PingFM, HootSuite, which I'll show you next briefly, are great with respect to the fact that you can schedule posts for the future. You can get content out for a week, a month, whatever works for you. It's genuine. It's your content, it's value-added content, beliefs, etc. But then you do want to chime in throughout the day to add current events and engage with people. What you don't want to do is simply post the same thing across Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all day long, all the time. These are different channels. They're different audiences. One reason is you might annoy people. Depending on how people are looking at their social media, they may see you pop up 3 times all the time. That will just cause them to block you or unfollow you. The other problem is that they're not always speaking the same language. Would you go into a networking event that was predominantly Chinese-speaking population and go in and try and communicate with them in Spanish or English? It just wouldn't make sense. And that's sort of using hashtags in Facebook. It really doesn't have a place there, and a lot of people just don't understand what that means, and it becomes obvious that you're automating everything. The benefit to you by not doing this is that you don't want to waste social real estate. So what I mean by that is you may have a population of people on Facebook that are important to you that are there at 9 in the morning. But perhaps the people that on LinkedIn you're trying to connect with are checking LinkedIn over lunch. So if you blast out that status update to all platforms at the same time, you're wasting your opportunity to present it again in the place that your audience is at the time they're there. So be strategic about these things. Now, quick snapshot of a tool that I promised. HootSuite is my favorite. I've tried them all and I continue to try them all, and there's various reasons that HootSuite, I have a bias towards it. I do have a webinar on a comparison of all of these different tools, as well as a deep, deep dive of using HootSuite powerfully to really create efficiency and productivity. So feel free to hit me up about that. But real quick, the best part I find about this getting started to people who are just starting to use HootSuite is the fact that you can pull in your Facebook personal account, your Facebook business page, your Twitter account, and your LinkedIn profile. And now you can also pull in some of your favorite LinkedIn groups. So with this, all you need to do is log in once to HootSuite, and you have everything right there, right in front of you. You can see who's mentioning you in Twitter, who's commenting on your Facebook posts. You can respond to those things. You can schedule things in Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. You can post discussions to groups, all of these great things. And for just a brief little, or an easy little $5.99 monthly cost, like one latte a month, you can add on some really great reporting features where you can also then get not only your Twitter stats, but your Facebook insights and an overlay of Google Analytics into HootSuite. So it's a really powerful tool. A lot that you can do with it. You can have a dashboard so that all of these things are right in front of you. And those lists that I mentioned earlier in Twitter, you can incorporate those as well. So that if you start to grow and have 8,000 people you're following on Twitter, but you've got 5 lists of really important audience, you can pop those right in and make sure that you're paying attention to those most important to you. So a final thought on this topic of creating a human connection in social media is a great quote by Lee Iacocca. Too many people fail to realize that real communication goes in both directions. And that is something that's so critical in social media. So many people are just posting and talking at people and hoping that people show up. You need to create relationships, communicate with other people, and then you will grow. So thank you for joining me on this. I'd like to introduce you to another wonderful series as we are continuing the human connection. A great webinar series put on by a group of us from the Human Connection Networking event. Marie Hale Ramos, Rose Mulroney, Ann Potts, and myself will all be doing our own webinar series that you can buy individually or as a group. So mine are here, starting on February 16th. The first will be Understanding the Human Connection, Strengthening the Social and Social Media. The next will take a deeper dive into why strategy is so important. I mentioned a few reasons along the way today, and there's many more. Then the next one will be Best Practice and Etiquette, how you really grow influence online and earn referrals. The next one will be Customer Service and Brand Management, minding your reputation. Really strengthen how you can use social media for customer service and creating a positive awareness about your brand. And then finally, Ask the Expert. This will be a Q&A from our series, which will tie everything together. And I just noticed there is a typo in number 4. So number 4 is March 29th, and then number 5 is April 12th. So where can you find more on that? Here's some more information about our pricing. If you want to participate in one webinar, it's $39. A single webinar series from each instructor, $129. But you can have all 4 for just $400. So you can go ahead and register at this tinyurl.com/humankey, or feel free to contact me at sue@soaringsolutions.net, and follow me on Twitter, Sue_Koch, and you can find a way to connect and register and get on board with these great webinars. Thanks for joining us, and I hope to see you online.